am fixing to show you how to make homemade biscuits. Biscuits are so versatile. Think about biscuits with jelly for breakfast, or split open and covered with sausage gravy, or maybe a biscuit with some leftover ham and smoked cheese for lunch. Or how about the very best of all? Big, fluffy, layered biscuit filled with honey butter and sitting on a plate of fried chicken. Sounds good, right? Well now, once I show you how to do this, anytime you have a hankering for biscuits, you're going to be able to go in the kitchen and make them. And I know I've been doing it for a while, but I can mix the biscuits and bake them and have them on the table in about 10 minutes. Now if that's not instant biscuit gratification, then I don't know what is. So, this recipe that I'm going to start you out on is a super simple recipe, and I chose it because simple ingredients that you have at home, and because some of the recipes that have butter and different ingredients in them are just a little bit more fiddly, not as easy to work with the very first time. This one is no fail and going to give you big fluffy layers. So another great thing about it is it only has 5 ingredients. So all you need are things that you're probably going to already have in your kitchen. You're going to need flour, salt, baking powder, lard or shortening, and milk. That's all your ingredients. For equipment, you're going to need a medium-sized bowl, a big spoon, your measuring spoons, a rolling pin, baking sheet, your biscuit cutter, and if you have wax paper, that'd be great. If you don't, that's fine. The most important piece of equipment though is a pastry cutter, and I love the old vintage ones with the thin wire. This one's kind of wonky, but I love it. It was my great-granny's. I use it all the time. I'm not a one-hit wonder. I don't go out and buy gadgets that I'm only going to use once a year. I think it's a waste of kitchen space. So the great thing about this is not only is it for making biscuits and making scones, but it's also for making pie crust. And the wonderful thing about biscuits, and why I love to teach people how to make them, is because it is your jump start to making pie crust. All of the techniques and things that you learn when you're making biscuits, once you've mastered them, you can go straight on to making pies, and that is wonderful. So here's your pie making machine right here. But it is also good for mashing up and cutting boiled eggs for egg salad, and rough mashing up ripe avocados for guacamole, all kinds of things. So if you don't get anything else, I recommend you getting a pastry cutter because you can actually use it for lots of things. So there's our ingredients and our equipment, and we are ready to jump right in. So I'm going to start measuring stuff out, and don't get you a piece of paper and pen and start scribbling, because we're going to have the recipe all handy dandy at the end for you. So I am going to start with our flour. Poof! When I bake all day long, I promise I have flour everywhere on me, behind my eyeballs, everything else. I'm a messy cook. So, 2 cups of flour. And you're going to need about 3/4 teaspoon salt. Sprinkle it on over. And I like Rumsford baking powder because it doesn't have aluminum in it, and I kind of pshawed when everybody said, oh, it makes a difference. But I've tried both, and I've used this for years now. Aluminum actually can give a bitter taste when you bake, so if you can find it, awesome. If not, you just use whatever kind of baking powder you can find. And we want this one. Baking powder is something that you need to be more conscientious about measuring. With salt, I just kind of throw it in willy-nilly. We need 2.5 teaspoons of our baking powder. Put it right in there. And then lard. And I know you're probably laughing, but I have taught this to my boys and my best friend and lots of high school students that I teach in cooking class. And after they have used it for biscuits or pie crust, I have them coming up and saying, so where do you get your bucket of lard? Lard is amazing. Trust me on this. So I'm going to put 5 tablespoons of lard in here. This is our fat that we're going to cut in to make these beautiful, flaky, puffy layers. There's 4 and there is 5. Alright, that's what an apron's for. So, I'm just gonna toss that around, get my sugar and my baking powder mixed up in there, and get my lard covered over with flour, because the next thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to use my pastry cutter and I'm going to cut the fat in, and then I'm going to put in the milk and get it all mixed up. But I want you to be able to see what's going on in the bowl as I'm doing that, because you can read a recipe 100 times over and not know for sure that things are looking how they're supposed to be in each step, so that you get a finished product that's exactly how you want. When you see it, however, you can check and you can say, oh, mine is looking exactly like hers is. I think I'm on the right track. So, you give me just a second and I'm going to have you come over and peek over my shoulder. Okay, we're around here and I'm going to show you how to cut in the shortening or the lard. So I'm just going to use it and I'm just going to kind of go in here and start cutting it in. That's literally what you do. If you get a big old glommed up amount on there, you just push it back through. See how it's getting all coated nice with flour? And as I go down, you may see that I'm sort of scraping it on the bottom, pushing and scraping. So that is working that fat, that lard, into all of that butter that's sitting down there in the bottom. Just keep going around, and if you see any big chunks, like this one right here, you just come back around and you get that. And there we go. See? Flour all over the table. Okay, so that is a really nicely mixed up batch. Yeah, some people say get it the size of peas or whatever. No, that is going to be a beautiful flaky layer right there. So, and then lots of little bitty pieces. So, perfect. You've got it all cut in. So our next step is just to take our 3/4 cup of milk and we're going to dump it right in. Take our big old spoon and I'm gonna, see that big old pool of water? I'm just tossing the dry flour up in there, tossing it around in there till I get all of the liquid that I see visible mixed up in there. Okay, scrape any of that flour in there, kind of get it turned over so you can see that there's some dry underneath there. Okay, now in recipes they'll say mix it to a shaggy dough. Well, what does a shaggy dough look like? It looks like that. It really is shaggy. Just kind of big lumpity layers. That's perfect. We're all good. Clean off your spoon here. And now we're going to bring the dough together. And that's as simple as getting your nice clean hands in there and going for it. Pull my sleeve up some. Okay, so you're just going to take it from one side of the bowl and start to pull it over to the other. See how it's already making a nice lump? This is our lump of dough, and you can squeeze it a bit if you like. Get it all into, and see I've got some sticky bits on me. Get it into a lump that you can work with. So there it is. There's a nice lump of dough. And what we're going to do now is we're going to knead it. Kneading it basically means taking it and turning it over on itself, turning it a little bit, folding it over on itself again, turning it a little bit, doing that multiple times. For the biscuits, we're going to do it about 8 to 9 times. Now, is that a magic number? For biscuits, it kind of is, because we want to do enough folding to make layers, these beautiful big flaky layers, but we don't want to do it enough like bread to work the gluten and make it get tough. So what we're going to do is we're going to take our lump and we're going to fold him over, press, and turn. That's 1. Fold him over, press. He's stuck to me. And turn. That's 2. Fold him over, press, and turn. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Now, see what a nice, smooth little lump he's becoming? That is perfect. I'm only going to do 8. That is great. So I'm going to stick him back here in the bowl. I'm going to go wash my gooey hands, and then we're going to roll out some biscuits. Okay, so we're ready to roll out our biscuits, and you can see that I spread out a piece of wax paper. You don't have to do that, but it keeps your countertop or your table clean. Crumple it up and throw it away. No mess. Now, on lots of things, you're going to have to, breads and pie crust and things like that, you're going to have to put down a good layer of flour to keep from sticking. If you made your dough right, you can see it's not sticking to my hands at all anymore, and it should not stick to your wax paper or your counter. That's how you know it's a good biscuit dough. So I'm going to put it out here. And first off, you need to know whether you like thin and crispy biscuits or big and fluffy biscuits. My grandma Tommy liked thin, crispy ones with just hardly any of the smooshy poof in the middle at all. I like big, fluffy ones that you can crack open in two halves and have jelly on both sides. So if you want it thin, then you're going to roll your biscuit thin. If you want them thick, you're going to roll your biscuit thick. Makes sense, right? So I'm just going to barely sort of start to push them out here like that. Get ready. This is my marble rolling pin. I love it so much. I have wooden ones and they are lovely, but I really like this one best. Oh, look, I'm done. That is as much as I want to roll it out. That's a good thickness right there, and it's just going to rise on from there. So this only makes, 8, 9 biscuits. That's plenty enough for me and my boy who's still left at home. When I had all my kids at home, I need a lot more biscuits. So you want more? Double, triple the recipe. This is enough to get you started right now, and also just the right amount for you to get the feel of kneading and cutting it in. So we've got our biscuits all laid out here. You need your biscuit cutter. Now this is the most important tip of the whole shebang here. Do not twist your biscuit cutter. I know lots of times when you make icebox cookies, and you put them out and you use a juice glass and you twist it and cut out your cookies. This is not that. If you go in to make your biscuit and you twist as you cut, what you're effectively doing is sealing all of those layers together, and instead of being able to rise up nice, it's going to stay tiny, just like when you cut it. Don't twist. Up and down, that's it. You don't even have to use a biscuit cutter if you don't want. You could cut it right down the middle and make it into squares. You could cut it into triangles like scones, but I like to have round biscuits. So, my baking sheet is not greased. You can put a piece of parchment paper over it if you want to keep your sheet clean. Do not use wax paper. Wax paper does not go in the oven. The wax can melt off. It will catch on fire. Just don't. Okay, so cut you out some biscuits straight up and down. Look at that. I mean, you can see the layers already in the biscuits, and I haven't even baked them up yet. Get right in there. Like so. The thing about cutting cookies or anything else with a round cutter means that you have leftover scraps. But that's okay, because we're gonna do, I'm not gonna roll it out again. I don't usually ever re-roll the biscuit dough. I just take 2 lumps like so, and I press it together a little bit to where I can get one more cut biscuit out of there. So there's my pressed together biscuit. He's not going to be real pretty. And then, all this business right here, all these leftover bits, is going to be a cat head biscuit. Now, I've heard people say, oh, I make cat head biscuits. Well, I never knew there to be any but one cat head biscuit in a batch of biscuits. Why is it called a cat head? Because once you smush him all out about the same thickness as all the rest of them, he's big and ugly and nobbledy, kind of like an old tomcat that's been fighting around all his life and has mangled ears. My kids always fought over the cat head. It's the ugliest biscuit, and yet everybody wants it. So it makes one big old fat biscuit, and you plop him down on there like that. There's your biscuits. Easy and done. We're going to take them, and I'm going to pop them in a 450-degree oven. It's going to give them this instant high heat. It's going to make those layers swell, and in 8 minutes, we're going to have some beautiful, delicious biscuits. So in they go. And I'm going to tidy up a little bit while they're in there. The timer just beeped. And so we're going to take out our biscuits and see how they look. Ooh, toasty. Okay, here are our biscuits. Look at those flaky layers. Not stuck to the pan a bit. Can you see that? Their layers are just exploding apart. Aren't those just beautiful? So there are our biscuits. And I have been in a quandary all this time that they've been cooking, trying to decide what I was going to put on them. Couldn't decide whether honey from my bees or strawberry rhubarb or cherry jam, but I think that the apple butter won out. So I'm going to have me, look at that cat head. Is that the hugest thing you ever did see? So gnarly, but look, you can pick up all the different layers and tuck jelly underneath them. My kids loved them. I'm going to take this one closest to me. Look at those layers, just begging to be flaked apart. And the steam coming out of there. Get me a big old wad of butter. I'm actually going to half him with my fingers. Put some on either side because I'm a big fan of eating it opened up and get to put jelly on both sides. So I'm going to put me a little bit of apple butter on there. Smush that butter around. Doesn't that look beautiful? Super yummy. Uh-oh. Now look how moist that is. All those flaky layers and then a moist, yummy center. So, now that you know how to make biscuits, you can go in there and make them any time you like. If you enjoyed this and you want to learn how to can jams and jellies to put on your new lovely biscuits, I have a YouTube video on canning jelly with Miss Sam. If you would like to see more recipes and cooking and canning and just basic rambling, please go to my blog. It's MissSamWearsDresses.blogspot.com. I'll put that up on the end of the recipe also. And if you're used to wampum biscuits, those are the kinds you buy at the store in the can, and you whomp them against the can and then you bake them. Those are yeast biscuits. So baking powder biscuits aren't going to have exactly the same texture. So if you decide that you would like to learn how to make yeast biscuits, which are like the ones that you find in the cool section at the grocery store, drop me a comment and let me know, and I will show you how to make my great granny's angel biscuits, which are yeasted. And until then, there's not a soul else in the house today, so nobody's going to know how many of these biscuits that I eat. So I may try a biscuit with some of all of these on there. And until then, y'all have fun cooking and canning and doing what you do, and let me know what you think. Thank you. Bye.